There is a treatment that can induce remission in Crohn's without a single steroid. Your GI may never have said the words out loud. Hi, I'm Kate, and today we're talking about exclusive enteral nutrition, or EEN. If you or someone you love is managing active Crohn's and steroids feel like the only option on the table, this video could genuinely change the conversation you have at your next appointment. Now, if I think back, the moment that EEN first came onto our radar was with my son. He had been struggling a lot, flare after flare, had lost, I'm going to say, 10 to 12 kilos, and was genuinely doing very poorly. We had the conversation with the doctor, and he mentioned, look, there is something you can try. What it is you just drink these drinks. We're like, okay. But there's no food. Okay. And then you have to do it for 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, when that first came on, that conversation, of course, it was pretty confronting. I looked at my son and I'm thinking to myself, this is a kid that was going to the gym, like worrying about his protein, all the usual stuff. And here this doctor is saying to him, look, let's try 6 to 8 weeks just drinking these drinks. I don't know. I think it ended up being maybe 6 times a day. I had to step back as a naturopath because for me, it was like, oh, this isn't like real food. But because I always like to have my children involved in their decision making, I left it up to him. Now, he finally decided that that was going to be something he wanted to try. So we sat down with the dietitian in conjunction with the gastroenterologist and ordered the drinks. When they came, let's just say he didn't like the taste. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how is this going to roll? Because we're supposed to do this for 6 to 8 weeks. But there was one thing that I forgot to, I guess, include. My son is very determined. He had been so sick that I think he was willing to try anything. If they had have said, you have to eat cockroaches, he probably would have tried it. Because, losing the 10 to 12 kilos, just feeling sick all the time, going to the bathroom all the time, he'd had enough. After about 2 weeks, I was like, he's not going to last, because every time he had the drink, he hated it. We tried different flavors. He hated them. We tried heating them, making them into more of a milkshake with ice, like a slushie. Nothing worked. He just did not like the taste. But to his credit, and I always impress on him the amazingness that he actually lasted the 8 weeks, he kept going, because I think finally he could start to feel the benefits. The episodes or the symptoms reduced, and he started to feel, I guess, more like himself and better in himself, that he could feel that it was working. So at the end of the 8 weeks, which was pretty amazing, the look on his face was just pure joy as he sat down to his first meal. Obviously, that is another conversation about how to reintroduce food after doing this EEN. But I would say if it's something that is offered to you, or even for you to bring it up yourself, from our experience, and like, I'm not giving you medical advice, but just what happened with my son, it is a worthwhile, I guess, path to take. It's tough. I'm not going to deny it. The drinks taste awful. I tried them. But I guess when you're at that point, you'll try anything. And that's exactly what my son did. And it really, really did help. The gastroenterologist was really good about it. We asked lots of questions, and the support team that we had around us from them, and as well as, with my own knowledge, I think that also helped as well. So here's what the evidence actually says, not just speaking from personal experience. But drinking or tube feeding a complete liquid formula as your sole nutrition for 6 to 8 weeks achieves remission in roughly 80% of children with active Crohn's disease. So that's pretty high. which is about the same as steroids, but you don't have the bone density loss, growth suppression, or the adrenal effects that come with steroid use. A 2019 review confirmed this for pediatric patients, and adult data, while smaller, is also increasingly supportive. EEN is not a naturopathic workaround. In the UK, Australia, Japan, and Canada, it is the first-line induction therapy for pediatric Crohn's. The question worth asking is, why is it so rarely mentioned to adults? And that's a question. So, what EEN actually is, it's a formula. Exclusive is just that. It is exclusively a drink. And the gut needs total formula feeding rather than just supplemental shakes. So the formula brands we encountered, what they looked like and tasted like, well, obviously there was different flavors, but they were just the same formulation, but with different, I guess, chocolate, strawberry, banana, vanilla. You get the idea. So a clinical patient whose location of the disease makes EEN a strong candidate versus where it isn't the right fit. So active luminal Crohn's, small bowel involvement, that's where the evidence is actually thinner. So the 6 to 8 week reality, so it has to be that long for it to work. So if you do start it and after a week, you're like, oh, I can't do this, there's no point. You can't go out, you can't have a burger, you can't get a pizza, you can't have an ice cream. You have to be prepared to actually give up everything else for that 6 to 8 week. So my son had a family dinner during his EEN course. We actually tried to avoid him actually sitting at the table with us. I would sit with him, or someone else in the family would sit with him while he had his drink. We didn't make him suffer and sit at the table with us while we were eating food, because obviously that would not be very nice. So if you want to bring this up with your GI, just simply ask them. I've heard about EEN. I've listened to someone talk about their experience. And is it something that would be possible for me? That's all you need to do. So don't be afraid, because obviously this is your journey or your children's journey or the person that you're caring for, and you have every right to find out whether any, I guess, prescribed treatment option is going to be suitable for you. Now, the transition phase where we reintroduce food, as I said, that's a whole different conversation. It's got to be structured and gradual, and that is when naturopathic support around diet and gut health can meaningfully layer in alongside medical follow-up. So what we did in the weeks after my son finished it was foods, timing, and how his gut responded. So where my son is now, obviously I've mentioned he's in deep remission. So we never revert back. We haven't gone back to EEN. But we monitor. And I guess we know there's that option. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it never comes to that. So the one thing I'd say to a parent sitting where we were sitting is to actually ask the question. Bring that up with your GI. Ask them, is it something we can use? And I guess the other thing is to have a really good conversation with whoever's going to go on it, because it's not right for every person that's watching this video. So if this opened a door for you, share it with someone who needs it, and drop any questions you have about this in the comments below. There is a link in the description to the resources I mentioned, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day.